Hey, it's Pulse, and we're talking the RMX-1000 today. Let's take a look at this as your basic start to use guide. First, the back of the unit. You've got your power connection, which is a 5-volt DC input. Your on and off / standby switch, USB connection, the -10 +4 switch, depending on whether or not using it as a send return or as a line device. You have input and output connections, both TRS and 1/4 inch. And hey, look, a Kensington lock switch or a lock connector there. Now the input-output, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here today. You can use a TRS cable that is a tip ring sleeve 1/4 inch connection. That's a balanced connection. Those are fine. You can also use a TS connection, just a tip sleeve, unbalanced, which is what I'm using on my RCAs. So I'm going to show you that we can in fact use a mixed set of ports here. So let's get those connected. Get the USB connected. And last but not least, the power. Now the power, actually, there's a little cable locker here. You can, if you so desire, wrap the cable locker around this thing. There's a little notch in the back of it, and that'll keep it from getting pulled out. So if the cable gets pulled on, it'll pull on this rather than the connection. Once that's done, you can fire that up, and it does this little illumination pattern, and then you'd be good to go. So how do I have that connected? Well, I'm down here on DJ-M-2000. It's on the send return loop. So let's take a look at the setup for the levels, because that's something that I get asked frequently. How do I set the levels? Well, let's get some audio playing and play that through the channel that you're going to be testing it on. Set the send return on whatever it is using. Make sure that send return is on. And I typically run my levels at 0. So let's just turn it off. My levels typically 0 here, 0 on the master, or just into the first and peaking at +1. So make my adjustments there first. Of course, my crossfader is disabled and all that's fine. Now, if you've got these levels set properly, there should be no difference between having the send return on and off. So my levels stay the same. And the way I achieve that is when all the effects are off on your RMX, set your input and your output levels so that they're the same. If your input and output levels are different, when you turn your effects on and off, you can hear and see that there's a difference in the levels. Plus, you can see the output level here is different. So adjust those up. I usually find these are about 12, 1230, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, you don't need to have, as I said, you don't need to have any of your effects turned on to be able to set that up. If you want to know if your effects are in fact working, turn one of them all the way down. With your effects engaged, you should hear no change, see no change in the levels, provided these are all the way off. Again, you start turning it up, and you will see your levels change. This is totally normal. You're adding audio. Totally normal. Okay, so the X-Pad is actually another thing. I usually find setting it around the 9 o'clock is a good level. That way they're not too overbearing. If you have it at 12, they're going to be way loud. So set it more towards the 9 o'clock. And it sounds like that actually blends in as part of the music. So that's just your normal setups. Let's talk about actually getting the software stuff configured now as well. Pop by the pioneerdj.com/support website and find the RMX on this list to download the latest versions. Find the RMX, click software download, and we're going to grab both the firmware and the Remix Box software. So at the bottom of this page, you'll see, actually at the top here, you'll see that it is version 1.20 is the current version for the firmware. Yours may have shipped with 1.16. It is advised that if you're under 1.2 that you update. And I will show you how do we do the updates in just 1 second. So click on download, and we'll download that file. And may as well grab the Remix Box here, which is the software for managing all the settings. Current version of this is 1.0.1. Agree, and we're on the Mac, so let's click download here. So while this is downloading, let's go and let's do the firmware update. With the USB cable connected and the unit turned on, you can see that the SD card that I have in the end of the unit has actually mounted to the operating system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to take my update file, my firmware update, and drop it in. Now you can see, because I've already used this, I've got an RMX folder in there, and I've also used it with a camera previously, so I have a DCIM folder from my photos. You can ignore both of those, that's okay. The important thing is that you only have one update file found in the root of the SD card. Now, important, you eject the card before you disconnect or power down the RMX, because if you don't, it'll, of course, the operating system complains about it. So now to do the update, switch off the power on the RMX, press and hold the hold and tap buttons while switching it back on. Now this is a bit of a kung fu for me because I've got the camera in one hand, but press and hold, and you can see the firmware version that you have will be flashed up there, as well as the word UPD. Now, it shows you your meter here starting at 0, and it'll go all the way to the overlight, indicating as it's doing its progress. So this is a little status bar. So now you can see it's moved to the 1, and that's blinking. So as soon as the update is complete, it will show both bars full red, and as the version number will be shown in our display. There you have it. The update's complete, version number. Now I can power cycle the unit. And I'm good to go.